Welcome to Soft Talk Vlog. Today I'll take you to Timal, a tourist destination, a peaceful tourist destination. So, welcome to the show. The Timal region in Kavre district was always on my mind, especially after the start of the coronavirus pandemic that was towards the end of the year 2019. The region had seen far better days before the pandemic. Why would not it? The question arises. After all, it is supposedly the only place on planet Earth where the magical Buddhachitta trees grow. Those trees bear those round, beautiful, magical beads called the Buddhachitta that cost or used to cost in those heydays a small fortune. I'll show you some pictures of those Buddhachitta trees here. These are the Buddhachitta trees that I was talking about. These trees are growing on cornfields in Timal region, which is a tourist destination. It's a peaceful place to be. Obviously, for the faithful, I mean the Buddhists from around the world in particular, that small fortune is nothing big. It was nothing big. The soaring demand for the Buddha Chitta helped fuel the local economy, enabling local communities to make hay and have a party. Bottles of alcoholic drinks finely arranged by the entrance to those inns are perhaps a reminder of both the good and the bad times that have passed Timal by. I was talking about the finely stacked beer bottles kept at the entrance of those inns at Timal. Let me show you some of the pictures that I took while on my journey. At the height of the boom, at the height of the boom came reports. At the height of that boom, that tourist boom, that Buddha Chitta boom, came reports about local farmers keeping guards to prevent the incidents of theft of those magical beads. I mean the Buddha Chitta beads. Amid this burgeoning trade and open hostilities, fights became common. But then good things don't last, or do they? This is a picture of this Timal Bazaar. It's the center of activities. It's a marketplace. It's a business hub. But this township is quite sleepy. It appears quite sleepy these days, and this points at this slack in business, slack in this trade of those magical beads that I was talking about, the Buddha Chitta beads. So let's continue with this. First came the 2015 Gorkha earthquake. Then came the coronavirus pandemic and the Russia-Ukraine conflict in a space of barely 4 years. And all these factors, uh, they pushed this uh, pandemic infected global and national economies into deeper and deeper crisis amid feeble signs of the economic recovery. And amidst these hard times, I went to meet Timal recently. Remember, I had a promise to keep on a rain soaked evening to find that adverse weather conditions were already having an impact on the magical crop. The poor Timal Bazaar appeared half sleepy. Or was it me, tired to the bone at the end of an hours long journey? Part of it on a country road. To shake off that sleep, I went around town, talked to a couple of people, feasted on Aiselu Chautaris. Those are local, some sort of local berries. They were like ripening by the roadside, and I managed to capture the dying northern lights of the day from the meadows of Kurtimal. In fact, the picture I have on the background is of the sunset, the dying lights, the northern lights before the sunset. Those were these shots. This shot in particular was taken minutes before the sunset from the meadows of Timal, Port Timal, that is. At the guest house, as it turned out, I was the only human guest. For most of the night, a bumblebee trapped in the room kept buzzing from I don't know where, giving me some company. As ventilation was almost non existent, I feared for my breath and remained awake for the most part. The next morning, a rather chatty bird started her bird talk long before the first tweets from Elon Musk's Capiolis and Donald Trump's of this world. Initially, I thought it was the bird's way of wanting to know whether I was impressed with the room service. But as the morning matured, the talk became faster and more intense, making me wonder if these chirpy little things imitate heated human exchanges that take place in families. One of the guests that I was talking about is very much on the background of this presentation. My footloose streak continued well into the afternoon, taking me to places like the Raktakali temple, Timal, and Narayan Sthan, all on foot. Through conversation with some local people, I came to know about the shortage of water in their areas and how they were tapping rainwater to use it for irrigation, washing, and for the cattle. This is heaven on earth. Timal is on the lap of nature. It's beautiful, it's peaceful, but there is this scarcity of water, and local communities are finding it hard to cope with that scarcity. Local communities have found this ingenious way of dealing with this scarcity of water. They collect, they channelize rainwater falling on rooftops through these pipes, and then they store it in this pit they have dug, and they use this water thus collected, rainwater thus collected, for irrigation, for cattle, and for cleaning the bathroom and washing also. That is how they cope with this scarcity of water in this locality. Let's continue. These people are pinning their hope on a project that aims to pump water from the Sunkosi River and distribute it to households through a network of water tanks and pipelines. This project is already on the pipeline. During my during my wandering into the woods, the sound of one odd vehicle passing by occasionally would disturb that meditative peace of the woods that were in perfect harmony with chirps of birds and the roar of the Sunkosi flowing down below, the Sunkosi River flowing down below. Occasional local election rallies would prove that I had not ventured out too far into these woods. The local elections had just the local level elections in Nepal had just concluded, and different political parties were taking out those what they call victory rallies in that area also. Apart from that, scars of development like landslides by the roadside dampened my spirit a little bit. In rural areas of Nepal, despite environmental fragility, roads are taken as this huge development initiative. Roads have become, in many parts of the country, synonymous with development. So you can see the scars of development in this part of the country as well. It is no secret that bulldozer led works, development works, have often wreaked havoc and given development a bad name in this country. Now that local level elections are over, one hopes that newly elected representatives will be a little more mindful of the environmental fragility of their constituencies. How about starting with environmental audits of past development works, learning vital lessons and moving on at albeit slow pace with environmental well-being and not bulldozers on the driving seat of development. A little bit about bulldozer-led development initiatives in Nepal. Many of the chairpersons of rural municipalities in Nepal have their own bulldozers, or they have those bulldozers registered in the name of their kith and kin. That means these people have to constantly find work, find business for these dozers. That means they do not spare those beautiful mountains, hillocks, mounds, whatever comes in the way of their so called development. They just remove it. They just raise it. They just pull it down. They just flatten the mountains in the name of development. That is taking a huge toll. That has been taking a huge toll on these nature conservation initiatives in Nepal. Yes, hoping that this will help. When you put environmental fragility at the forefront of development and not those machines, not those bulldozers, not those uh, huge earth moving equipment at the forefront of development, this when you put environmental fragility on the driving seat, this will help places like the Buddhachitta capital, that is the Timal region, remain at peace with themselves. Those heavens on earth, uh, these when you put environmental fragility at the forefront, this will help these scenic places like Timal at peace with themselves and the rest of the world, even amid crop failures. With peace and bliss, other good things such as progress and prosperity will follow for sure, won't they? That is the question, and that is what our newly elected local representatives, local level leaders need to keep in mind. This remark, I wrap up this edition of Soft Talk. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening.